inaugural UK-Rwanda Business Forum, held in Rwanda's capital, Kigali, convened a panel discussion between esteemed figures from British investment and funding bodies to discuss the available opportunities and partnership offers. The panel included Nicola Watkinson, the Managing Director, International Trade and Investment at the City UK, Emma Thomas, the co-head, Global Business Origination in Africa, Americas, Eastern Europe and Central Asia at the UK Export Finance, UKEF, Shima Danani, Head of Office and East Africa Coverage Director at the British International Investment, BII, Tinashe Makoni, the General Counsel at the Private Infrastructure Development Group, PIDG, and Engineer Tony Ahmed, General Manager at the Kigali Water Limited. The dialogue centered on key areas of partnership and investment ecosystem.
And I want to hear from Sima. You've stayed 75 years, and I want to understand, during these 75 years, how has it been like, the experience working with the continent? And today, as we sit in Rwanda, what sort of offers, what sort of opportunities are you seeing? 75 years ago is quite a long time, and a lot has really changed. How are you also metamorphing in that space?
Sure, thanks. That's a big question. 75 years ago, the CDC group, as it was then, was probably partnering more so alongside government entities. For example, in Kenya, we helped establish the Kenya Tea Development Agency. We all talk about, there's how well Kenya tea has done on the global scale. So that was one of sort of the big ones. But we also helped establish a geothermal plant in Kenya, Okaria 1. That was almost 20 years ago now. So the beginnings of the renewable energy space was something that we got involved in. So we've seen a lot of change in the way we approach the market. One of the big focuses for us for quite some time now has been really targeting the private sector. So we only work with the private sector because we really believe that the private sector are the ones that really can be instrumental in affecting change. Alongside government, of course, but really it's that private sector that we want to develop. That's the innovation that comes from the private sector that we want to create and foster. In Rwanda, we've actually invested in Kigali Water, which is through the Africa Water Infrastructure Development Platform. That's a joint venture that we have with the Matito Group out of Dubai. And actually we're working on a very large hydropower plant called Ruzizi 3. Ruzizi 3 has come about through our platform with the Aga Khan Foundation, and it's a 206 megawatt hydropower plant that sits between Rwanda, DRC, and Burundi. Incredibly difficult project. It's been going for 12 years, but has the potential to impact 13 million people. So it's one that we're really, really keen on coming to fruition in Rwanda.
Yeah. Interesting. Emma, I want to also get your thoughts, because these projects, especially for developing countries that are developing at a fast pace, there's an aspect of financing of these projects. And it becomes a very, a headache in terms of what's the best model of financing. What's the best, which one do I go for as a country? So as you speak to us today, what options would you be sharing? What ideas would you be sharing in terms of the best way to go in funding some of these projects, be it infrastructure, be it big ticket or small ticket projects?
I think there's two really important elements to think about in this area. So one is to really think about how do you create Rwanda and Kigali as a financial center so that people feel comfortable and confident to come in here and use it both as a test market for great innovations and for finding their feet in East Africa as they come in and look to take advantage of the growth opportunities. And then the second one is then, how you can use it as a gateway to the rest of the region. And I think then so that's sort of the role, if you like, of the financial center. And then within that, in terms of different funding mechanisms, I think this point about blended finance and the ability to help to de-risk some of those early major investments is really important. So I think there's a great public-private partnership opportunity that exists between the private sector and many of the companies based out of London who are really looking for those growth opportunities to be able to partner with some of the initiatives that are over here.
Yeah, and when you talk about opportunities, especially in the UK export finance space, I'm now talking to you, Emma, in terms of what you see in terms of opportunities. What are you looking at? So that whoever's in the room, they can now take notes and say, hey, she's been looking for us.
Sure. So it's probably worth saying at the outset that UKEF has a strong market risk appetite for Rwanda of up to £2 billion sterling, which I think is really demonstrative of our confidence in the macro fundamentals of the Rwandan economy. I think a lot of the opportunities that we're exploring are the ones that we've heard about a lot today already, and especially in this morning's panel session. So those are primarily in our infrastructure across transportation, air and road, water and sanitation, healthcare, mining, agriculture. We are kind of broadly open for business in any sector aside from fossil fuels. But those are the opportunities that we're really seeing the most viable propositions from a UK export finance perspective. And we can play an important role as well in terms of this kind of de-risking conversation, de-risking those investments and helping to mobilize private capital into those projects too.
Yeah, interesting. Tina, say, maybe someone in the room has a business and they want to align that business to be able to tap into British investments. What should they be doing? What do you look at? Is there a template? You know, if there are UK businesses that want to tap into the African continent or Rwanda specific, what should we be doing if we want to align with, you know, whatever you do for us to be able to work together?
Thanks, Eugene. I think the one thing that I'm struck by is that it took us coming to Kigali for us, the three of us, who work in a very similar area, to actually sit down and have a conversation. And I think it's a message to us is to be intentional in mining the opportunities and the difference. And it's interesting, UKEF, BII, PIDGE, we're all funded by UK government. We do very different things. We don't compete with one another. We're complementary. And I think we can do much better. We can spend more time being intentional and finding out exactly how we work together on that side. The other element is the importance of listening. I love what Mansour said earlier about, you know, you can't come here with your preconceived notions of what Africa needs to come and develop Africa. One needs to approach it as a partnership of equals, where there's dignity, where you are culturally competent and sensitive, so that you hear what the real needs are, and so you tailor a solution that actually meets a need, not what you think is needed in the country. So that's a message to us internally. In terms of Rwanda and the businesses, there's so much capital available in the way of technical assistance, concessional capital, and upstream support.
Where's this money, Tinasep? We are always saying there's no money. Where's this money?
We've been hearing all about the Rwanda, the capital, and there's a gentleman there, Lord Popat, who's find him. He's
nice.
No, but I think there's plenty of pools available. I mean, our organization, my colleague Jasper Nyangwa there, who's in charge of our regional technical assistance facility, we spend up to $50 million a year in technical assistance upstream, and you know, we've spoken a bit about Kigali Backwater. There's support available, and sometimes it just takes, you know, you mining, you know, this world of kind of capital. Sometimes it's difficult to navigate, but there is support there, and I think it's great that we're here because we can help navigate and point people in the right direction.
Right.
Can I just add in there?
Yes.
I mean, it's quite frustrating actually, both from both aspects. As an investor, BII has $1.5 billion to $2 billion to put to work every year, and we're searching for opportunities. And so it's trying to bridge this sort of gap between finding the right opportunities that we can really, you know, make our investments work. We do need the technical assistance that PIDGE can provide, but it's also sort of educational as well, because there are, I mean, to be fair, there are quite a number of criteria that we have to meet when we're making our investments. So it's also about, the onus is on us also to educate the market, which we hope some of this panel does, to really understand sort of what are the areas that they need to, potential entrepreneurs or entities need to sort of consider when also thinking about investors and investments and taking that on.
So what's the trend? What are the things that make it difficult for them to qualify for this funding, for it to stay in that tap, and yet we want it to flow and go to the right people? What's been the trend that has been making it difficult for those, like you said, it's hard for you to get where to put this money in? What's the challenge? What are we not doing right?
Yeah, for us it's scale, if I'm very honest
Scale.
with you. So our minimum ticket sizes are $10 million, be that debt or equity or through a fund. So that's tough to find, particularly not just in Rwanda, across East Africa. But we can find them. And then even if entities come to us that perhaps aren't ready, for us it's about introducing them to the number of different vehicles that exist that can do the smaller tickets. That we work with quite a number of different GFIs. A colleague, Audrey's here from Swed Fund, who can do smaller ticket sizes. And then it's for us to work with them to introduce them to the opportunity and then continue and let them grow.
You want to jump in?
Yeah, I thought I might just jump in and just build on this, because I think it's a really interesting idea. And this also goes for the UK companies looking at the opportunities over here in Rwanda. And I think there's a number of things that Rwanda has an excellent opportunity to really tap into. One of them, and we've heard that from Mansour and others, is about being a test market for the rest of Africa. It's got really good rule of law. It's really got some great innovation. So UK companies that are looking at how to get established over here in the region can really use Kigali as a base. I think the other one is also then about understanding how you can create an international financial center here in Rwanda that allows you to be a sort of a regional headquarters, a gateway for expanding into other parts of the region for some of the bigger institutional companies that may be looking to grow. And for that, I think this idea of creating an international financial center is an amazing way to do that. Because if you can get the kind of pillars in place that allow you to be attractive to the international investment community from the UK, but remember the UK is a global center, so it has 250 foreign banks based in the UK, all of whom are looking for growth opportunities around the world. If you create this international financial center here, then it becomes easy and attractive for companies to want to come here and to do business here. And that's one of the things that I think the UK and Rwanda can really partner on together. I guess the UK has historically had a lot of experience doing this. We've worked with Dubai and their international financial center, with Astana and their financial center, and many others around the world. And the UK's professional services and financial services really have a vested interest in wanting to create this success story here in Rwanda and have that true partnership that you were talking about. So I think there's some things we can do. The Kigali International Financial Centre has already been started. It's been making some really good progress. We heard from Hortense before, and Nick. They've really started to make the regulation a little bit easier. And there's a lot of other things that we could do to really help to pave the way for international investors to come in here and partner with the local entrepreneurs, both at small scale as well as at large scale, to be able to be part of the growth and success story that exists here.
So before I move to the next speakers, I'm going to just ask you this. And I'm going to use the English lessons we learned and to change the tenses. You say cooled. What would be needed to be done today for you to already work and change that cooled to are already working together? What is needed for the partnerships to happen like now?
Yes, well, I mean, I think from our perspective, to create an international financial centre, if you ask any investor around the world, the ones in the room here or anyone else, one of the things they'll say they're looking for is certainty. It may not always be easy, but they're looking for the certainty of the business environment. And in order to create that, I think there's some really practical things that can be done. And when we think about it, we tend to think about it in sort of the 5 pillars that build the runway that allow the companies to take off and be successful.
Yeah.
So there's areas like investor protection, for example. So protection for your ownership and also your IP. It might be dispute resolution. If you're coming in as an outsider, you want to have a dispute resolution system that's familiar to you. So the UK Courts of Arbitration are a great way in which countries like Rwanda can offer a really global solution to companies rather than them having to rely just on Rwandan local law. It might be global alignment of regulations. A lot of international companies face a big compliance cost in terms of whether it's audit and accounting and standards for green and sustainable finance. If you're a small country, and you can tell from my accent, I come from Australia, it's also a small country, aligning to international standards just makes it easy for companies to come in and say, yep, I can do business here, it's familiar. And talent and innovation, developing that capability pipeline. We heard about that before through a number of the other speakers. I think getting those accreditations, those global accreditations and training arrangements in place to tap into this incredible youth dividend and all the energy and positive vision that Rwanda has. These are things that are really pragmatic that I think the UK and Rwanda can partner on together.
What is taking us long to support women-led ventures, and also what interest is there for you, even all of you as panelists here? How significant is investing in women-led ventures, and how will that turn around things, and what are you looking at when you look for opportunities around here?
I think it's just become, certainly on the private sector side, absolutely fundamental to business success. Yeah. Whether you just want to look at it in purely commercial terms, I think companies are realizing that if you want to have the best products, the best solutions, you have to have diversity around the decision-making table. You have to be hearing the different voices about what's needed, what's fit for purpose, what innovations and solutions can come from. And if you all think and look the same, then you're not going to get that innovation. So I think it's moving. I think certainly at the City UK, we have a huge commitment on diversity and inclusion. We support the Women in Finance Charter. We've extended that to the World Alliance of International Financial Centres, which Kigali is part of. So we've all signed a pledge to really make sure not just our own organisations, but everyone in our ecosystem is really working to improve this. And that as we bring in new investors, we're also working with those investors to make sure that they embed these practices as well, supporting SMEs, supporting women's procurement through women-led businesses. There's lots of really practical things we can keep doing, and bringing in new talent, because often financial services looks a little bit scary, I think, to people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So really working to make sure that people understand the full range of careers that are available, and making sure that we have those kind of support schemes through CISI and others to really bring more women and more people from different backgrounds into the industry. Because without that, there's no success.
No success.
Eugene?
Yes.
Sorry, can I just mention the 2X challenge? You will have all received a leaflet in your forum bags on registration about the 2X challenge. And this is something that BII, alongside 7 other development finance institutions, established in 2018. And it's really about trying to look very critically at the investment decision-making process, so that we're very clear about actually targeting and strategically targeting gender or marginalized groups when it comes to investment decision making. So 2X actually established a challenge for themselves, that it was investing $3 billion in 3 years, and I'm really happy to say that they completely surpassed that. They're now at almost $12 billion. And as BII, we've established an open target of 25% of all of our new investments through our current strategy period, so by 2026, will be in the form of gender finance. And that's either through women ownership, leadership around the boards, or within employment, so the percentage of women being employed in companies, or actually even at the consumer level. So the number of companies targeting women and supporting women through the consumer side.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, that
We
does deserve
appreciate that,
that
yes.
does deserve it.
Yeah.
Just to chip in from UKEF's perspective, we too are members of the Women in Finance Charter within the UK and are definitely putting that front and centre of how we're trying to build our future workforce internally, but also with respect to the customers that we're supporting. And for the first time next year, as part of the next business plan, we will have a commitment to doing more to reach underserved groups, which includes women-led businesses. And I'm personally really passionate and excited to see that make it into our business plan, because I think that will help to mobilise and drive capital towards the businesses that do need it and are often overlooked.
Tony, what's your commitment when we leave this place, when we leave this forum? What is the commitment that you're making in terms of practically moving the needle to actually lock the partnerships, the significant partnerships that we're talking about? And what is your wish if the RDB CEO is here and he has a notebook and he would be taking notes? What would be your wish list for Rwanda, for you to be able to even work more in this environment?
Okay, in Rwanda, actually, to be honest, it's one of the very healthy and very attractive environmental for investment, especially in this region, because they have a clear and well-prepared vision, always is quite clear and even established publicly every time. So, for example, our project is a part of Vision of 2020. So you can find all the partners, all the ministers, and all even the local entities. They are working in harmony to how to can reach to our target without any interruption. Yeah. And sometimes we, as usual in business, we can some kind of, some issues or something like that. You'll find everyone really from their heart, they need to can come over or provide any solution to push to reach to our target. So once you have a clear obligation and a scope for every partner, you will find it's easy to can everyone he know exactly what's required, what's the obligation, and how can I help. Yeah. The most very important things I need to mention about the gray area. The most, if you can see, the most of failure of the big project is the gray area between the scope between the two partners. This is a very, very critical one, and it can destroy any issues. So once you have this kind of clear obligation and clear scope, to can make sure you are minimize this gap. This to can ensure you can reach your target without any issue. As well, also you have a win-win contract or win-win situation. So make sure when you have your contract, the other party also you will benefit from that. It is not one-side game. So this is makes the partner they are working in the same line, and it's 100% like secured the succeed in the end. Yeah.
Right, Tinashe, how do you ensure that this forum makes sense when we leave this place and doesn't end up as just another opportunity for us to tick the boxes? We came, we saw, we conquered. How do we make it make sense when we leave this place? What do you want us to do to ensure that there is actionable actions to follow through?
I think it's firstly the fact that we came here to Rwanda and we're not sitting in Paris or New York or London, I think is already fills me with hope, right? And the fact that we are so we're here and I mean we've got a team. I've got Michael Osterhazen. I'm going to put him on the spot. He heads up our regional equity, early stage equity. Please find him, bother him. He's got money. He's looking for deals. So we've got a team on the ground who's actually actionable. But there's one thing we've not discussed, which is local currency, the role of local currency. And I think us, we generally are USD, dispersed USD funding, but local currency is important. And why local currency is important is because when you look at these attractive rates of 10% that institutions like us provide, it looks great, but when you've got a depreciating currency of up to 10, 15, 20%, that debt will become incredibly expensive over 15, 20 years. So I think my urge would be, let's be intentional and ask ourselves actually, how do we bring in local currency funding into our projects so that we're growing the local securities market and we're actually building in true blended finance, which includes local currency.
Right. Thank you for that. Seema, you have to share with us also what do you think moving forward from this conversation, what do you want us to go with for those who are in this room, those who are watching us from wherever they are?
Sure. So I think for us, it's really about seeking out those infrastructure projects and in financial opportunities in financial services as well, particularly sort of trade finance, which I see as sort of critical. We do have a small pool of local currency that we can put to work as well. So it's really about being, come and find me if you're in that space and if you think you've got a project of a certain scale. My colleague Freddie Tucker is also here from our financial services group, so come seek us out. And we'd love to have a conversation. If we can't help you, we'll find somebody else who can.
Yeah, thank you for that. Emma, plug in anything that you feel is very crucial that we've left out and you feel we do not leave this place without hearing that from you.
I think maybe just to reiterate sort of 3 key messages that I'm leaving this panel with. The first is that a personal and kind of shared commitment to raise awareness of the opportunity here among the business community that we're regularly engaging with back home, to really spread the word among British businesses, but also with third country contractors who we deliver projects with in markets around the world. The second is to continue deepening our relationships with our Rwandan counterparts to really make sure we understand the needs of the market and where we can play an instructive role. And kind of in that context, the third is prioritizing projects within the opportunities that we've spoken about that really deliver long-term social and economic return for Rwanda, and that work within the framework of the IMF program around debt sustainability, which remains a really crucial part of the picture, and we've not had a chance to speak much about today. But just to Seema's point as well, I have my colleague Isaac also in the room, who is our country head for Eastern Africa, based out of Nairobi. So he's your man on the ground. I'm based in London, but between us, we have a strong commitment to doing more here.
Right, thank you. Nicola, you have the last word. What do we do to ensure that the partnerships are happening? And when we move from here, what are the things that you want us to live with? If we are to forget everything, what should we remember from this panel?
I think we need to just keep continuing the conversation. So many of us will be going back to the UK with a different perception than the one we probably arrived with. I think we need to make sure that we're telling that story. We've got the UK-Africa Investment Summit coming up in a few months' time. That will be a chance to continue that conversation with many of the people we meet here today. And certainly my own personal takeaway is to make sure I keep working very closely with my colleagues at the Kigali International Financial Centre to keep building the environment so everyone here finds it really easy and effective to do business here.